Well, after Mike De Decker won the World Grand Prix, ranked 36th in the world before that tournament, we're asking the question today whether or not darts is as wide open as it has ever been. And joining me to discuss that topic, well, two players at opposite ends of the darting spectrum. Trina Gulliver has been there and done it all, 10-time world champion. Jared Cole just finished playing on the development tour. I'll start with you, Trina. Was there an era of darts that you can remember where it has been this wide open?
Not really. I have to say it's it's massively wide open at the moment, and it's I can't really recall that in the past. It's been pretty much the same people all the time.
Yeah, you being one of them, of course.
Me being one of them.
Jared, for you, a player coming off the development tour now, I mean, you've seen the likes of Mike De Decker, Dimitri Vandenberg, Luke Humphries before you all progressed through that system. Do you think that's a contributing factor, the fact that people are getting used to winning on the development tour before they become pros?
Yeah, I would say so. I think it's the ultimate catalyst to improving darts, basically. It's an opportunity that wasn't there before. And I think you're seeing a lot of new faces coming through into the top of the game.
Do you as a pro sit there now, look at it and think, look, anybody can beat anybody can win tournaments?
Well, any tournament I enter, I do believe that I'm capable of winning. Obviously, in my mind, if you don't believe that, there's no point playing. So, yeah, I believe there's definitely an opportunity there that probably wasn't there before.
Let's go back through the eras a little bit. Look, I'm going to start the story with Phil Taylor. I know there were other players that were sort of dominating before that, but
yeah. Phil
Taylor's story, darts has kind of since then always been seen as a sport where the best player wins most of the tournaments, hasn't it?
Yeah, I mean, Phil's got a phenomenal record, hasn't he? And he was, again, winning most of the tournaments back then, and these days it's more varied. Jared's quite correct. There's more in the youth system kind of thing, and there's a lot more options and opportunities for players as well these days.
Well, the landscape actually is telling the opposite tale is women's darts, isn't it? Because we do have a dominant force in women's darts at the moment. I mean, you were a dominant force yourself. Has it always been the case, or have there been spells where the titles have been shared out a little bit more?
No, there's been spells where the titles have been shared out. I mean, you've got Anastasia that was coming up, okay? She's still about, still playing good darts. Dieter, obviously. And, there's Frances Honsler. It's always me and Frances Honsler in the finals in the past. We had quite a reputation together. But, and now, obviously, the domination is Bo, Fallon, Lisa and Makuru, I guess. They tend to be the ones that are always there. But Bo, in particular, is dominant at this point in time.
Certainly is. Jared, again, Bo, a player herself, has played on development tour at times. There is an interesting debate amongst the development tour as well, where some of these players who are fully fledged professionals actually play on the development tour. I'm going to just ask you straight, is that fair?
Yes and no, because ultimately you're capping ability, but then you're capping age as well. It's like, if you're good enough, you will still win. So obviously I'm quite lucky. I've won a couple of titles. So the opportunity is still there, and it's a great chance to compete against the best players. Obviously, like Luke, like Wessel, like Gian, obviously that are all really up and coming, if not there now. And it's an opportunity, but then they're developed players. It's an argument both ways. I do struggle to sort of like sit on the fence, but I think for me personally, as one of the sort of like outsiders but still in with a chance players, in my opinion of it, it's an opportunity to test yourself against the best. And so I think allow them to play, but then some people will argue the other way. Obviously, if I hadn't won a couple of titles, maybe I'd feel a little bit different. But yeah, I can certainly see both sides of the aspect of the coin.
As we said, nobody's really dominating at the moment. Luke Humphries, to an extent, of course, lost that final. He's been in the other tournaments he hasn't won, he's been in the finals, so we can set him aside a little bit. But you dominated in your era. What does it take to dominate a sport, and why is nobody really doing that at the moment?
Well, it takes a lot of dedication, a lot of commitment, a lot of sacrifice as well, and especially in these days as well. Time management is a massive factor, and you'll get the likes of Luke and other players, Michael and everything, stepping out every now and again to take time out and have family time and just time to themselves, because it's a full-on circuit now, and you've got to take that time out as well. So time management is very important for mental health as well.
And Jared, when Michael van Gerwen won his first World Championship 10 years ago, he was kind of meant to take the baton and dominate darts. Why do you think that hasn't happened?
Well, I think it did, but it also didn't. I mean, he sort of went on, in my opinion, about a 5-year run where he was the best player in the world, in my opinion. But then you sort of look now when there's so many other players that I think are competing at the same level. And I think it's not necessarily that they're not performing. I think it's just everyone else is too.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you look at people like Mike Judeka, Andrew Gilding winning the UK Open, another one, does that give players inspiration to think, look, if I just get a good couple of months, 3-month run of form together, that could be me lifting a major title?
Well, I think you're right in what you say there, because like you see players, they come on this sort of 6-month area and they just dominate, and it randomly happens, then they sort of like sink back into the pile a bit. I mean, maybe for Mike, this is the catalyst he needs. Obviously, Luke Humphries this year has been, in my opinion, the best player in the world, and I think there's not really any debate on that. But Luke Littler's another one. He's sort of like gone for a 6-month period where he's been too good.
There are little moments as well. Sorry, Joe. There are little moments as well, aren't there, when players emerge and it doesn't go to the script. So, for example, we spoke about how dominant Bo Greaves has been in the women's game.
Yeah.
Yet when we had our women's week here, Rhiannon O'Sullivan came out on top.
Yeah, and that's the way it goes. You know, Rhiannon's another player that's been so consistent as well. She's a great player, and there's more in strength and depth, if you see what I mean. There's more quality players now, and it's there's quite a few there that can challenge Bo.
When you dominated the sport and someone else won a tournament, did you in a way feel like that was a failure? 'Cause did you expect to win every event?
Well, yeah, that's kind of like what I'm a very determined person, and and very competitive. So so yes, I wanted to win everything, obviously. But there's sometimes they play better than you. That's it. You've just got to take it.
Couple more questions. We started by talking about how open darts is, but as the conversations developed, Luke Humphries' name did come to the forefront. Are we being a little sort of harsh on him? He's lost a couple of finals, and we say darts is more open than ever. But is he effectively dominating the PDC at the moment?
I would say he's the player that everyone wants to be. I wouldn't say he's dominating like Phil Taylor was, like Michael was during their era, basically. I can't see anyone who deserves to be number one if it's not Luke Humphries. He's just too consistent. And even when he's not winning, he's still making finals and he's still doing all the hard work.
And that's the name it always comes back to, isn't it? Phil Taylor. Do you think we'll ever see anybody else dominate darts in the way that Phil Taylor did?
To be honest, no, I don't think we will, because the field is wide open. It's there's so many consistent players now. It's open to anybody, really. I don't think Phil's number will be beaten.
Jared, will there ever be another Phil Taylor?
No. Phil Taylor's going to go down in history as the best ever player. I think there isn't a debate on that. There'll be people who get potentially within a couple, but I don't think anyone would do it as he did.
There we go. Interesting points. Thank you very much for talking to us. Let us know what you think in the comments. Is darts more wide open than it's ever been?